All right, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Orange Board of Finance. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:05. I'd like to start by having everyone introduce themselves, beginning on my right.
Kevin Moffett.
PJ Shanley.
John Cifarelli, Finance Director.
Michelle Loso, Sewer to Monday.
Andrew Swytag, Sewer to Monday.
Joe Nozell.
Jim Leahy.
Pat Romano.
Kevin Houlihan. Thank you. Next is not on the agenda, but as I'm sure everyone knows, unfortunately on January 19th, we lost our Fire Marshal, Tim Smith, who and we could all probably add words, but to go into what that loss means to everybody personally in the town, I don't think there are any words, so I'd like to have a brief moment of silence in Fire Marshal Smith's honor. Thank you. Okay, public participation. Since there's no public here, we'll move on to item number 3, the audit presentation and vote to accept the audit for fiscal year June 30th, 2019. Michelle Loso of Sewer to Monday, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Michelle, as
Happy
you
New
go
Year.
through this, if we get to pages where we're talking things, I'll try to flash it up, but we don't have to have it totally in sync, but if we could kind of keep that in mind, that would be helpful.
Perfect. I'll just
Do you
make
have
some,
a copy? Do you have a copy of that? Not the,
That I don't have, John. The main report that was printed.
Kev, what do you need?
it's okay.
There's 2 of them, there may not be there. Those are 2 of them. That one, Kev, if you'd give that one back to Pat,
Oh, okay.
I think that would be helpful. Here, Pat, this is what you need, and then
That's
Kevin,
fine.
what do you need? You got what you need?
I got it.
There's 2 letters, right?
yeah,
Okay, and then there's the preliminary, the big one with the cover sheet.
great, all set. All right, I'll just make some overall comments, obviously, I'm not new to this. Basically, everything went smoothly. Obviously, always thankful for both the town and Board of Ed employees for their cooperation. It's not an easy process or a quick process, especially. Oh. Thank you. Especially going through this fall with all the Munis training that both the board and town have been involved with. I think there were days where there were actually 5 days of training and no audit time. But we got it done. Again, it's an unmodified, clean opinion on the governmental activities, business-type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. There's no material non-compliance with laws and regulations, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over financial reporting. There is a management letter again this year. Obviously, John can address some of those points when we get to it.
Is the management letter the one that has the 3 items, technology, personnel, and
Correct.
cash management? Thank you.
So we can talk about that at the end. There was no federal single audit again this year. The audit threshold for that is $750,000. The town is at approximately $575,000, mostly in Board of Ed, both school lunch and special education grants. State single audit, unmodified.
Could I,
Yep.
Michelle, audit threshold means?
There has to be $750,000 worth of federal expenditures before we have to do a federal single audit on compliance.
Thank you.
We do, though, always have to do a state single audit. That is also, again, an unmodified clean opinion over compliance. Orange receives about $4.9 million in state assistance. This year, about 3.3 of that was subject to our testing, mainly in Town Aid Road, the Silverbrook Estates project, LOSIP, and the local bridge program for the Derby Milford Road. And then about 1.6 million is mainly for ECS and special education, which is not subject to our testing under that program, under that state single audit. We do test it in various other degrees at the Board of Ed and then for the agreed-upon procedure engagement over there. So in the actual audit report, if you turn 1, 2, and 3 is basically the independent auditor's report. Starting on page 4, going through page 12 is basically management's discussion and analysis that's prepared by John in the finance department. Basically a snapshot and highlights of what transpired during the year instead of reading the rest of the 80-so pages of the document.
Thank you.
And I'll turn a little bit more of the rest of the presentation over to Andrew. And like Jim said, if you have any questions, obviously, stop us at your,
Oh, Andrew, you
Page
probably
markers
have
there.
a prepared. Correct. What you want to go through, to the extent that we get stuck or or starting to talk about something on page XYZ, then we'll flash that up on the screen so people at home can
Right.
see what we're talking about.
Definitely stop me at any
At least
time,
maybe follow
correct.
along, if they're interested. Is that a good process?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So the first set of statements that I wanted to go to start on page 15. And this is what is called the governmental fund statement. It's what you guys are familiar with, general fund, as it's the first major fund. Then it lists out the other major funds, which are the bonded capital projects and the capital fund. And then all the other small, non-major funds are grouped in the other governmental fund column. So general fund, the largest fund of the town, ended at a fund balance of $15.2 million, an increase of $530,000. Generally, this resulted from favorable revenues, strong tax collections, even with the reduction in mill rate, the Amity refund, changes in grant funding, as Michelle just talked about, some of that that are subject to our testing. Additional ECS and some pilot monies came in that were not initially thought of for the year. And overall budgetary and departmental expenditures, cost savings and monitoring, overall in most departments. Now, the last line of fund balance down at the bottom there, if you scroll down just a little bit farther.
Down here?
Right, yes, right above the total is $13.2 million unassigned fund balance. That's approximately 2 months of budgetary expenditures, 19% of.
That number there.
Correct.
So when we talk every year about our fund balance and this percentage of the budget and that kind of thing, that's the number we're looking at.
That's
on
what you guys
page-
normally look at,
page,
correct? The other
page
non-spendable relates to some prepaids,
Right,
committed and assigned or for various items, either subsequent year's budget and/or assigned for certain encumbrances, Board of Ed, carryovers and such. So the unassigned is what you guys will be looking at that to go forward with.
Hey, Andrew, I've been
budgetary.
doing this since 2005. I still learn every year how to read these things, and I mean, I'm pretty good at it. I know where to look, for sure, and it's not 15, it's page 19 for me, but that's a big number, so please continue with your prepared remarks.
Great. One new thing that you notice on this page, if you compare it to last year's statements, is the capital fund became a major fund this year. And that's determined every year based on final numbers that come in. If it meets certain thresholds, a fund becomes major, or if it's designated by.
So we added this column in the middle here? is what
Correct.
we're talking about?
In 2018, fiscal year 18, it was grouped in the other governmental funds column. This year, it was designated as a major fund, so it's broken out to give it, significance and to set it apart from the other funds.
Okay,
Predominantly, that it was funded by a transfer from the general fund for project needs. Okay, so the next
And
couple.
if you remember, that was established, I think, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Kind of to get all those ongoing capital projects that were being funded out of the general fund rather than having to keep appropriating that money every year to kind of get that out of your main operating fund.
Okay. Everybody good on 15?
Perfect.
Good, Andrew?
Then, on my, I have page 20 to 22 are the, what's called the proprietary fund statements. And these account for the WPCA, the elderly, the congregate housing at Silverbrook, and the insurance, self-insurance fund. Overall, these three funds are grouped together because of purpose. Overall, they're at a break-even point for the year. They all show negatives in terms of change in net position, but for the most part, that's due to depreciation on assets that are accounted for in the fund, so that's an accounting transaction, not necessarily operational.
Andrew, I heard your words, but I don't think
Sure.
I need you to edge, I'm not being
Absolutely.
slick here.
If you go to the next page.
Next page, thank you.
Sure. Scroll down a bit farther, there. Changing that position there about 3
Okay.
lines up, you'll see
Yep.
that they're all negatives.
Right,
However, a good amount of those are attributed to, about halfway up the page, you'll see depreciation there on their operating expenses. Those are large amounts,
Right.
but they're accounting entries that are done to account for the depreciation on all of the assets in those that are associated with the WPCA and the Silverbrook housing. So taking into account this depreciation, which is an accounting function, it throws those funds into a deficit in terms of net position. But operational-wise, if you take that line out, they're pretty much at a break-even point, which has been,
oh, wait a minute, hold on,
Several.
let's look at that first column, let's just do a quick test. I see this 187 for the depreciation, right? And I'm seeing 357, and 187 doesn't cover 357, so are we operating
well,
loss
that,
without?
I was going to, and my next line was, there was some good operating results in the WPCA. I mean, there wasn't, I'm sorry, I should start over. The WPCA outsourced some operations last fiscal years to personnel, town personnel were in charge of some of the operations, but that halfway through the year, that changed to outsourcing that, which had an additional
was-
cost.
That was due to the retirement that
So
happened.
contractual services of
Correct.
828 was probably a lot less the prior year, is that what you're telling me?
Correct, in terms of that would have not been as high because it was being paid through payroll.
Yeah, Jim, just to clarify, we had a town employee who spent part of his time working for the WPCA. He retired,
Okay,
and at that time, the WPCA decided that they wanted to go outside and subcontract that work, so that raised their contractual services for the year.
one employee, and it raised it seems like it
Well,
raised
they're
its
getting-
contractual services a lot.
It did, but they're getting different work out of the company that they
Okay.
hired. They're probably gonna make an adjustment in their future budget to cover that.
I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't remember a whole lot about WPCA other than when we come here once a year.
It's a fund that's operated and paid for by the users. Post Road, people, the businesses that are hooked up to it.
Okay. I see.
The housing on Grassy Hill at Route 34.
Thank you.
The military housing north the Post Road and up on Marshall Road, all those enterprises.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no other questions on this statement. If you go back, I'm sorry if you need to go back a page or two to the budget to actual schedule. So I think on mine is page 19.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go.
So starting at the top of this schedule, it goes to look at the revenues. Overall, the
Yeah,
revenues
I'll tell you
were,
what, I'm gonna bump
Sure.
this up just a notch, because if people are at home, this is, in my mind, this is where the action is. Okay, now we can see the revenue,
sure, $1.8 million if you look at the right hand.
1.799 over here, yep.
Correct, yes. Over budget, The lines that are most significantly over budget are the miscellaneous line where your cursor is. That was attributed due to the Amity refund coming in higher than what was budgeted in those lines.
Right.
Licenses and fees over budget, approximately $80,000. Another, strong year in terms of conveyance, sales, permits from different departments.
Right.
Property taxes, even though they were strong overall budgeted, if you combine those lines, slightly in the negative, but not
Mostly that
much.
was due to that person, the motor vehicle one, right?
Correct.
Yep.
We had a lot of refunds on the motor vehicle taxes last year.
By the way, if you're watching at home, these parentheses around it mean negative. It's a little hard to see with this parentheses kind of, almost over to, California over there, but that's means negative.
What we're gonna need to do before we finish our new budget for this year, we'll have to take a look at the revenues coming in there, make sure it's not a trend that we'll have to lower our collection rate.
Right, right. You're talking specifically for motor vehicle.
Now, for all of them, you can see we have, the motor vehicle's the biggest. The motor vehicle's the biggest one, but you can see a few negatives in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely see that. There's a number there that's only 154,168. You see third from the bottom? Sounds like $1 Million movie, Joe, right? Third from the bottom, right? Investment income. It's only 154, but as a percentage compared to the budget of 260, how'd we, help me understand, since we're on it.
Interest rates, healthy fund
In-
balance.
Yeah, interest rates, more money to invest, moving the money
Well,
to
we must
to
have made an
greater-
assumption or
Correct.
something like
Well,
that.
putting, yeah, I'm not sure on the budget side, but on the actual side, I can tell you it's,
Yeah.
it definitely has increased even from last year.
And this year, it's now down.
Yeah, everybody knows that we're getting less on our savings, right?
If you remember, last year, there was a trend of the prime rates going up.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, last year, in the middle of the year, there was a little commotion coming out of the White House, and the rates started going down again. So you're gonna see a negative in the current year's budget at the end of the year
Yeah.
because of that.
Okay. Right, so you would thorough look at the revenues, guys? What do you think?
Looks good to me.
Okay, how about we,
Good.
how about we take a peek, you can guide us through
Sure.
your thoughts on the expenditures?
Yes, the expenditures also look good to me. So approximately $739,000 under budget as well. If you see a lot of non-negative, or positive, I should say, positive variances there, which means cost savings. A lot of, cost sharing, different needs addressed, needs of departments really analyzed to run efficiently. Not spending on things that are not necessarily needed in a certain year and holding off on projects until it really is needed, not just a want. Public safety, one line item there. There were some retirements of officers, replacements come in at a lower pay grade. Debt service was also slightly under budget from refundings, pay downs of principal.
I would have thought debt service would have been one that you kind of can, not you'd predict it to the dollar, but I'm a little surprised it does have $100,000. And I'm just talking out loud here.
It was mainly because of the refunding we did last year. There was a payment schedule that didn't have to be
Oh,
made.
that's right.
And you're gonna see the same thing, I believe, this year, right?
John, my only other question on this one was, it's at the top one there, 205, 367, general government. Again, it's, quote, only $200,000. But then again, it's almost 8.5%, I would guess, of general government. What was going on there?
That's all the departments. If I had to take a guess, it's probably in the benefit area, insurance area, where we probably
No, well,
save
that's 'cause
most of it.
That's a separate line
Oh,
item.
yeah.
But there's, you're talking selectman's office, tax collector, town clerk, building department. So it's so it could be, 10,000 in 20 departments.
Got it,
Yeah.
but the fact that it's 8 to 10%
Yeah.
lower is significant, is my point. And I was just thought, you know.
As I've said, I mean, our department heads don't spend money just to spend money.
Oh, we do, we're
so-
exceptional.
Yeah.
We're exceptional.
And if there are no other questions on this, I was going to move on to some significant footnotes.
And there's that fund balance again, right, that 13,282,
Correct,
151?
yes.
So that's a good one to circle, right? Everybody good? All right,
The footnotes are quite lengthy, as you guys are well aware on reading these
yes.
year to year. So I'm going to focus on some major ones that we normally talk about every year.
Try
Okay.
putting them together.
And proofing reading, yes.
Don't listen to these two, they love doing that. Guy, that's our chairman.
Guide us to a
No.
page here.
Page 44, please.
Tax is
44,
different.
we'll give it a
This
look.
stuff is long out of my life.
All right, so we got grenade close. Let's see what page we're at, 42, so this is 43.
So the
All right,
bottom half,
44.
the bottom half of page 44, which starts
Long-term
footnote,
obligations?
correct, footnote 6. So this depicts the long-term obligations, different liabilities of the town as of June 30th, 2019. The top line, general obligation bonds, one of the second largest number there. Bonded debt increased, if you net the two additions and deletions, increased about $2.3 million. This is due to a couple things. New issue, there was a new issue of $4.5 million of new monies, as well as a refunding of almost $3 million. And this is fiscally responsible due to paying off old higher interest debt, cost savings going forward. But overall debt does go up, but is paid off over the term of the bonds and a cost saving to the town in terms of interest payments. Other significant liabilities there we're going to go into in more detail in some other footnotes, that being the pension and OPEB liability. So I won't talk too much on it right this moment, but overall, this number here translates to the front of the financials on a government-wide basis, where it accounts for all debt and all capital assets of the town in terms of like a business-type structure instead of a municipal.
But just looking at it, if we have a balance on 2018 and a balance on 2019, we can clearly say that net pension liability went up and the net OPEB liability went down by about.
Correct, right. Overall, that did occur this year. One other footnote, and I'm going to be skipping around just a little bit because it relates to this, on page 73 is a new, well, not a new footnote, but one that doesn't appear every single year. It's the last
Let me,
footnote.
Go back to 100, or else people's brains are gonna go fry. Okay, wait, 73 you said?
Yes, page 73,
you.
so a few more pages, there you
There
go.
we go. Subsequent event?
Correct, subsequent events. So on October 15, 2019, the town did issue some additional general obligation refunding bonds to refund the 2011 general obligation refunding bond. And this is due to,
Lower rates.
again, lower rates.
Yeah.
And that was part of the,
Hey, I've noticed in these footnotes throughout this document, there's always this rates, interest rates of 2 to 5%.
correct.
And I thought we remembered that it was a very specific number when we did these things. Is that not the case?
You get an overall number, but you pay a lower amount in the beginning and a higher amount towards the end of the 11 years. Well,
Oh,
how
so
many
when I
years?
remember it, I'm remembering the
You're
average
seeing
number
it.
basically, and
Right.
this is just the
blended
range
rate.
that you guys have to put into these things?
From the official statements, the range that they give, correct.
All right, good, thank you. Thank you for educating me there.
So now going back to the other two significant footnotes is 9 and 10,
Okay.
which are starting on page 50 with the pension. Actually, but instead of going all the way back to 50, you probably want to focus in on 55 to 57. That's where we get into the details
Okay.
of the liability.
All right, here's 57, I think. Nope, there's investments. Oh, a couple more pages.
Yeah, so starting on that page that you were just on, 55, yes, going to 57, it gives a snapshot of the net pension liability, goes into some actuarial assumptions, talking about different kinds of investments, the discount rate, and then what you're on right now is the changes to the total pension liability, the plan assets, which gives you
Well,
the,
we should be on the page you wish to be on, so tell
well,
me where you
these
want
three
to be.
pages are all right. They're all going to blend together in terms of the discussion that we're going to have. So we can start on, if you want to start right there where you're at on page 57, the top of 57.
Yes,
That shows one of the plans, the town plan,
okay,
and it shows the activity of,
all right, let me just fire it up so you can see it at home, okay, good.
so the changes in the liability, you'll see that the actual liability, based on the actuarial assumptions and calculations, went up $238,000. If you go all the way to the left, the first column.
That one
Yep,
down there.
correct. Then the next column over, right to the right of there, shows what the actual plan assets did. And the plan assets actually decreased overall almost $138,000 because of performance of investments, benefit paid out greater than contributions and contributions in. And then the third column there shows the net of the two,
Okay.
which
Add 'em
shows the
up.
actual liability going up $376,000 for the town plan. Then the page right before this
Okay.
will show the police plan. And the same types of column structure, the same information, but the police plan, obviously, the numbers are a lot larger in terms of the liability went up $2.3 million. The plan assets only increased about $4,000, netting a larger increase in the liability of $2.3 million. So these two plans combined is what you'll see in that previous footnote I talked about, the total
Where's the,
net pension liability.
maybe I'm thinking wrong here. Where's the, we have a bunch of money in a pot, right?
Correct. Yep.
Where's the return? Where's the interest, or whatever you want to call it?
Page 54,
54?
on the bottom.
Oh, so page before this, PJ?
Yeah.
Oh, the percentage, yes. The percentage is there, correct.
Is this it, PJ, or no?
No,
One
Keep-
more?
A little
Keep
bit more,
going.
yep.
Thank you.
right there.
Oh, okay. So I had a big low next to 4.34.
Not really.
Not really?
It's fiscal year, so if you looked at January 1st, 2019.
To the end of, oh, I'm still
it was-
thinking of
It
the.
was a great year,
Yep.
but this
Half
takes,
of the 18.
takes
half of
fourth
the-
quarter of 2018, which was terrible.
Okay.
So it's probably not bad. I mean.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's not,
Okay,
could have been a little better.
okay. Now, did we change this, PJ, from 7 or 7.5 in the past to make it 6.5 for this?
So I think it was higher than.
It was 8 at one
I
point.
think it was even higher than that.
We've been
yeah.
changing it, what,
Yeah.
a quarter or a year since I've
Approximately,
been here.
yeah.
And we did it again in November.
When we get to the right moment, I did an analysis because I was interested in what was going on there on page 57. So when we get to the right moment, I'd like to share what.
And I have
yeah.
some more on that too. so.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, PJ. You can educate me all you want. That's what you do for a living.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Nope, that was actually the next place, page 57 was the next place I was going to go to, and I'm
Okay.
sure your discussion is about the change in assumptions, is that, am I assuming correctly?
Well, yeah, what happens, well, I'll just lay it out, and PJ can just, contribute and educate us all, but, and whoever else. But I saw the 6.5, and I've read through it a few times, and I said, oh, I think I understand where it's all coming from. So, I said 6.5 will get you, I can't be flashing around the screen here all the time, but will get you this 56% that you see back on page 55, right? Because that's where these two tie together, was the bottom of this page, which we see right here. It's the 16,334,122, isn't that it? Maybe I'm-
Correct,
maybe
right.
I'm off.
At the current discount rate, the middle column there is what the net pension liabilities are for the two plans, correct?
Okay. So I asked myself, if we weren't using a discount rate of 6.5, and we were using a discount rate of 5.5, what would be this percentage number back over on page 55?
It's on 57.
Say what?
I think it's on page 57.
I don't think they calculated.
Well, the liability number's there, but not the percentage.
Yeah,
Not the percentage.
that would be the total.
49, 50%,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, oh, I have the number.
I don't have the
Okay.
percentage.
I have them, because I was interested. For example, we know that this thing here, the 6.5%, I think, is gonna give you this 56.23 that you see on page 55, PJ, is that correct, or am I?
No, that's it,
That's correct, right, Kevin?
yes.
Okay. So I was asking myself, sensitivity analysis, right? What would that percentage be if it was 5.5? What would that percentage be if it was 7.5? Just curious, really. And essentially, on the police one, and maybe I've calculated it wrong, it could go down, if it was 7.5, the percentage would go down, right?
Yep.
All right, so I got it going down a pretty good amount, right? 36%, or something like that. Now, maybe I calculated this wrong, but that's what I got. And going the other way, it went higher. Now, I may have goofed up the math, and just looking at my calculations here, I'm getting the sense that I did. But that's what I was trying to do, Kevin and PJ. I was trying to see what would the percentage funding of the net pension liability percentage, what that would be if we had different assumptions. That's what I was trying to do. And the second thing I was trying to do was somewhere, the average pension return, which is over on page 78, where they show you the last 6 years. Get that? You see that, Pat? Yeah. So I averaged those. And lo and behold, PJ, your 6.5 is about right. I attribute it to you because I remember you being, in my mind, one of the founding fathers of raising that issue. So, as a matter of fact, I got 6.81 and 6.68. So a little bit on the good side of life, I guess I would say, right? So that's what I was thinking. So it seemed like what I came to the conclusion, Andrew, was it was a good idea to make it 6.5, right?
Correct.
Because
You
that's
want
more
to
reality.
Use assumptions and rates that are realistic, as well as fiscally responsible in their calculation. I mean, if you're using a 8, 9, 10% rate, you're not going to get that rate of return back on the investment. So using more realistic rates, which I think everyone is starting to do now, or at least trying to get down to a more realistic level where on some of these plans, even though the numbers look, some of these pension liabilities, they look large and daunting. It's not due all at one time, it's a snapshot in time. Based on actuary assumptions and calculations at one point in time, things change daily. So, I mean, the stock markets go up, other things, the investments go up. The plans, it changes on July 1st. So keeping the rates at a responsible and more accurate level over time will look and be a lot better in terms of reporting and more beneficial.
Here's the numbers I got, guys, team. Sorry. At 5.5%, which would make sense because you're getting less return, that would mean that our 56% funded, right, if that's the right term, for police would be 44%.
It would go down, correct. You would have a higher
And
liability. correct,
7.5% became 66%.
Correct.
All
Sure,
right?
yeah.
On the town side, because we're starting at 69.97 there on page 55, then if it was 5.5, it would go down. I got 62.3. And if it was 7.5, it would go up to 76. All I'm saying is I did a little calculation. If you want to get together and talk about it, fine. But, I found myself wrapping around it, so I just wanted to share what I
Back in the
did.
day when we were at 8 or 9, the old days when everybody used those high rates, we were at like 90%.
Right.
But this is going to have other
Which isn't
questions, because
realistic.
somewhere in the back here, we got assumptions of like 3.5, 4, 8. There's some other stuff in here
I mean, obviously, it's a big estimate. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of fact. I mean, obviously, there's salaries, you know, how long people are gonna live, you're not gonna know.
Yep.
I mean, you're based on various mortality tables. It's your best guess. Hopefully somewhat based in reality. Hopefully it's not too off. But like Andrew said, it's not tomorrow that you have to come up with $12 million. Your funding, your actuarial required contribution. You meet with your investment people, you meet with your actuaries. You're taking a positive approach to the liability. And I think that's the best case scenario.
The other thing you have to remember, both these pension plans are both closed. There's only, I believe, 4 police officers and 4 town workers that are still working, that are actually funding that. So we're getting to the point where there's no money going in from the employees and it's all coming in from the town. But as people die off, that will slow down a little bit too.
But it's also in here that we've been funding and we've been, well, I don't know what the right word is, Kevin. There's some line in here that says, oh, you should be giving this, and we're giving it every
Yeah,
year.
We've done that.
Right,
We've done that every year
both
that
of
I've
these,
been on the
on both of
board
these, right?
or in this position.
I think as long as I've been doing the audit, I don't think
Yeah,
there's
we've
ever been an
never
issue
reduced
with you
it.
underfunding
Yeah.
either pension plan. So
Yeah.
that's not an issue.
And as Michelle said, pension board meets for the past 4 Novembers that I've been in this job. They've taken it down every November according to the recommendations of the actuarial. So that's a good thing, but as you'll see in your budget book, it's a bad thing as far as budgeting because it does mean we'll be putting in more money to cover both the pensions.
I just had a quick observation, and there could be a reason for this, but if we look at 62, the teacher's pension,
Page 62 per year?
correct.
Thank you. Let me
Now,
get
remember,
there.
the teacher's pension isn't.
It's a non-issue.
ours, It's a state.
It's the state.
It's a non-issue for today, but who knows what the future's gonna bring. The only thing I would say is we're assuming an 8% rate here.
That's right.
I'd like to see them both 6.5 or around there.
Hartford,
Huh?
they're still scrambling for other revenue. They're never gonna drop that rate. They will never be honest.
No, I
PJ,
mean, that pension looks bad at 8%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
never
PJ,
happened.
you said page 62?
62.
Okay. Oh, there it is right there, 8%, I see. Yeah, it seemed to be, by the way, when you say equity and bonds, it's pretty simple to me to see bonds and say, oh, that must be a bond thing, right, or cash. What would you call real estate? Stocks or,
That's the,
is that bond or stocks? or-
REITs,
yeah, it's a REIT. It's not in here, but it
Okay.
could be under alternative investments probably there, but on 56, there's global REIT.
No, I saw that. No, I'm on 62. I was trying to say, how people a lot of times.
Oh,
put
real
it-
estate.
Yeah. In other words, I was trying to say how much of this investment portfolio is stocks and bonds. I could see the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being bonds or cash, right? I could see the top 3 being stock, but I didn't know what to put real estate in.
You're asking what the actual investment, the
Yeah,
holdings?
yeah,
that's the
It'd be a
state.
number of things, yeah.
it would
It would
be
be-
neither stocks nor bonds, I guess.
It would be commercial buildings, so a lot of them could be all hotels. Some of them could be all hospitals. Some of them are a combination of them, very
So in the
diversified.
simplistic
Shopping
world of
centers.
it's stock or bonds, real estate doesn't fit either.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Now, if I could just make one more point to kind of enumerate what John said just 2 moments ago, starting on page 76 and 77.
Okay, let's, I'm
We
gonna
were
get
mentioning
there.
about the town's contribution, actuarially determined contribution, what the town actually put in.
Yeah, this
I'll
is the
wait until you
page.
get there, yep.
Yep.
Couple more, page
76.
76, yes.
Okay, thank you.
that showed, this is the first page, 76 is the police plan, 77 is the town plan. You can see even just from 2014, starting from the far right to 2019, on the far left, how much the town
Yeah, this is the
is
page I was looking
contributing
at.
and increasing
Yeah.
over just a 5-year span or 6-year span. And that's going to go, continuing that trend, as John was just saying, as more of the burden is going to be
This number's gonna
placed on.
continue to go up.
more correct. Since the plan is closed, there's going to be a limit, but as more people are not contributing, the retirees out of the plans, the town will be contributing more and more as it needs to fund the plan on its own, plus increases in need. And again, the actuary would determine this, but the trend has been
This is the second
going
one.
up
This is the
right
town
for the,
plan here.
yes, for both plans.
Yep.
I think, Jim, if you look in your budget book for the new year.
Yes, sir.
I think the police one is close to 1.5,
1.5 as opposed to
1,043,043.
1.5.
What is it for 1920, do you remember?
Oh, I see. You're talking about current year, so we have
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a little better.
Maybe 1.2. 1.25.
So it's starting to accelerate is what we're hearing, what we're seeing
It's in
here.
your books.
Yeah, and as your employees, as the employees are all retiring, I mean, that percentage contribution to covered payroll is gonna be like 100% because you're not gonna have any more employees contributing or any employees having payroll. So
So-
everybody's gonna be retired and receiving benefits. So that percentage is is skewed because the plan's closed. You don't have an ongoing workforce coming into those two defined benefit plans.
Jim, for your information,
412,000.
the police plan in the current year is 1,187,000. in the
Okay,
year
so
we're in.
1187, so let's make it 1190, make that 1140, 1040.
Coming
So
in, coming in the next year, it's 1,505,000 for the police.
Okay, 1,505,000.
And for
And
the-
the other one,
for
hold
the
on. 1,187,000. Okay. And what we're seeing
And for
here is
the-
1043 or 1044.
Yeah,
wow.
104.
Well, that's really an acceleration, 1187 to 1505. That's huge.
And that's what a drop in your
The rate
rate
got
of
dropped,
return is. And then for the town plan, which is smaller, current budget, it's 380,000. And the next year's budget is gonna be 475,000.
Okay, so that's the next one here. So we went from 377 to,
What did I say,
378 and then 470, so it's like 100,000.
yeah.
480 and then 505? Okay. And so these are costs that you really are almost, well, nothing in the world is 100% fixed. Because all, over the long term, all fixed costs are variable, right? So, but they're pretty fixed, right?
Yeah, there's a pension formula for,
So.
and obviously the actuaries are using that
Resources
based on the
have
current salaries.
way more than just the salary and particularly this particular cost and medical costs. For a long time. Okay.
And the last thing, OPEB is another liability we talked about, but it's the same situation where the actuary determines the liability based on current assumptions. And that actually had a more, like you spoke about before, a more favorable change this year of a decrease of 3.7 million in that liability.
That's page 80, is that what we're talking?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
So this 6 million, effective economic demographic gains or losses, 6.9 million, that's a big number, that jolted most things here, right?
Correct, right, and that's an actuarially determined input based on, I wish I could tell you right now off the top of my head what they use, but it's,
reviewing this
Yeah.
today.
Well, it sticks out, right? I mean, isn't that the one that's
Changes in
causing the
assumptions
3
and
million
inputs
to
is a
happen?
little
I
bit
mean,
more easier to pinpoint, but an economic demographic gains and losses is something entirely different, but, right, this year it's a huge favorable number, in their calculation.
Well, that's a big number, so, anybody got 20 words of what causes that?
While they're looking for that, there was a piece out in social media today, one of our neighboring towns. Their OPEB liability was about 20% of their budget. And only getting worse.
For some reason, I have this feeling that
We don't fund it. We're as a pay-as-you-go. But like this whole pension plan discussion, those plans are closed, so there's nobody new in there, so some of the benefits, some towns didn't do that yet.
Right, oh, yeah, I know.
And that's where they're gonna run into, a catastrophe.
The other
So-
thing you gotta realize in that OPEB liability is, I don't know if you remember this terminology from a long time ago when we talked about this, is that implicit rate subsidy. It's basically that you're paying more for your current younger employees. You're paying a higher rate for them because you have retirees at a lower rate. They're paying into the fund, but they're paying in at a lower rate. They're paying in at the rate that everybody else is.
Who is?
The retirees, anybody that's still retired but has some of your retirees do pay into the health insurance fund.
Okay.
But their cost of health insurance is the same as a younger employee. There's no age-determined premium rate. So what's built into that liability is really money that's not gonna be coming out of your pocket, per se. It's not a cash flow item.
I remember we had the actuaries here probably a decade ago with the whole OPEB, and that liability is that there is no insurance on some of the calculation, but we have insurance. So it's, to me, I always thought of it as a garbage number.
I remember you telling me that.
So I still have Milliman, I think it was Milliman, the book
Yeah.
somewhere, and we can always have them come back, but.
In the grand scheme of OPEB liability pages, going from 35.9 million last year on the right to 32.2 million on the left is a good thing?
Well, any liability going down is obviously a good thing.
I'm trying to reinforce it for everybody who may have, anybody at home still awake.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all good. Andrew, what else you wanted to show for us so that we can open it up to the
Those,
floor?
right, those are the end of the significant schedules, the significant footnotes, and various items that we discuss year to year with you guys. So, right, I just am done with my prepared remarks, so we open the floor to any questions or comments or things that you guys want to address in your review of the statements.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for all the effort in putting this together, you and Michelle and whoever else. It isn't easy to get through.
have a good team, yes.
But I've got something, and this is more of like a bone to pick.
Uh-oh.
If I went to the very last page, and I don't even know if it's in the electronic part of this document. I just froze up here. So maybe it won't be on the screen. It's a Silverbrook. So I actually took a peek at it. And, I think there were more than one Silverbrook, or maybe, it seemed to me more than one, but maybe it's the same. It said C25, so I didn't get a different number. But if I go to the very last page, page 114, right? What really, really surprised me was And I would be surprised if I was anywhere looking at any sheet and it absolutely netted out. So I'm seeing at the top of the page, the congregate income is 514,322. You see that? And at the bottom, it just so happens that the amount of money spent was the exact same money. So you need to educate me what's going on.
It's opposite. You go with expenses first,
Okay,
you take out what the tenants pay
okay.
and what other
Oh,
income is
and
generated.
there's a plug item
And then
number?
the state funds the balance.
Thank you. I got educated. Thank you. So the state subsidy core of the 207,223, or the one underneath it, the expanded core, or perhaps even the, whatever ALSA is, some combination of those numbers were plug numbers from the state for the costs that were incurred.
Correct. Silverbrook gets, say, $500,000, or, well, say $300,000 a year.
Okay?
That max grant. They're only allowed to spend, or they're only allowed to draw down on that grant the amount that they actually spend.
Okay. Thank you.
Would that be Medicaid or Medicare?
Neither.
Neither. Okay, good.
It's straight, it's just tenant assistance, it's just to cover the costs of mostly the meal side of the, Silverbrook program. Meals, I think some of the resident coordinator,
So they,
But we were afraid of losing some of that last year, weren't we, Don? Was that part of what,
think that was ever,
that wasn't on the table?
I don't think so.
tenants apply for assistance, is that what?
nope, this is a silver.
It's all based on their income. Every tenant over there, I believe,
Yeah,
pays a
there's
different
two
amount based
pieces.
on their
There's,
income.
there's the regular operating piece where, so there's actually two pieces to their rent. It's the regular maintenance of the building, security. And then on that side of it, the state actually provides rental assistance to tenants that need it. In addition to, then on the congregate side, which is basically, like I said, it's mostly the meal service. The state has always provided X amount of the operating funds for that in excess of the tenant contribution.
Is that considered low-income housing?
No,
No, I didn't think it was.
not at
No.
all.
So it's similar to a Section 8 program, where they're giving you rent.
Somewhat. Well, there's that, but then there's also this.
No, it's not good, got it, okay. All right.
Yeah, there's two pieces to the Silverbrook grant.
I know.
Two violations in under a minute, I don't know.
Green light.
All right, that's good.
And Joe, it's actually very nice over there. I was over there a couple of weeks ago.
I've never
looking
been, so
at
just
something.
curious.
It's a nice thing for the elderly that are in. There's a big waiting list over there. It's run very well by
Sounds like it's run, yeah.
By
the,
EHM, yeah.
that the town
Yeah.
employs and
Yeah, no, I think even since inception, there's been a waiting list. So,
There's the demand for that as the population ages, for sure.
Yeah.
I have to applaud you guys with your, just some of your basic formatting. I mean, that, you know, I used to always teach, you know, the people that are doing the teaching, that you remember you're the one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind, because the audience is the blind, right? Even if I didn't believe that they were, you know, they have to give them a boost. But, you know, in your footnotes, having them numbered like that, with the lettering, the bold, all that to the brain, just, it's so critical for clarity purposes. And just, you know, you're picking up these things, it's hard enough to get yourself motivated to look at it. No offense, even if it's my job, but that's how it feels.
None taken.
And then it's a little easier. So every year I've seen you guys improve on that, and I applaud you, you know, continuous improvement, so all good.
for contracts coming up in a year, we're gonna get a big hit.
Well, by that time, I'll be telling her about all these pension costs we
this is
have, you
the
know?
only, this is what people see. People don't see the work behind it. So this is what is out there that with our name on it. So this is what,
For
you
me,
wanna be
page
proud of.
19 is where, for me, the action is a lot of summarizing what we did last year, and I appreciate you maintaining that that page. Once
Anyone
around?
else? John, do we not have ODAC doesn't operate anymore? The drug and alcohol?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, on the special revenue, there was
Oh,
no
yeah.
activity.
Number 13, it's the
We
page
have costs, we have the
87.
payroll costs,
Page
yeah.
87.
Oh,
Balances beginning and everything. Oh, I see what you're saying. It didn't, there was nothing.
87.
87.
You used to get grants.
No jokes here, Joe.
John, doesn't she get grants or no?
I know there used to be grants.
There used to be, but
Good catch, Kev.
I was just curious.
Good catch.
We're gonna move the 56 to the general fund then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean we didn't get any interest on that?
Yeah, because it does say committee.
Yeah, I'm on that committee, so.
So, John,
But
were
it
you
does
gonna,
have a $56,000 fund balance.
John will find it tomorrow.
We just generate money.
well, I was gonna ask whether it earned any interest, but I think I'll leave it alone. Hey, John, are we gonna talk about these three things briefly? Information technology, cash management, and personnel? Oh, just give us a blanket overview if you want. Give us a,
They're the same three things that have been on there for about 3 years.
correct? John, you,
Let's go to that. The information technology, we'll try and get something done this year. I mean, quite frankly, with the Munis training that we're all in, we're getting the very, what we have to get done during the day, we're getting done, and right now, that's not at the top of the list.
understood?
Personnel, that's now with the Board of Selectmen and the Personnel Committee of the Board of Selectmen. With the Personnel Committee of the Board of Selectmen, that's turning out to be a harder job than what we thought. Cash management, Art and I have looked at that. I'm very conservative, and I like what he's doing with the money now, which is basically money market. But at some point in time, we'll address that too, but it probably won't be until the fall of this year.
When you say money market, what rate are you getting?
1.5, 2, I don't know, whatever it is. It's mostly invested, I think, with the state, isn't it, through the
Yeah, I know,
state program?
this last fiscal year that we audited, there's definitely a lot more money put in STIF. At least at year end, I know the balance was quite much higher. So I think a lot of, the rates were there. I don't know what the rates were at the year end, but I know they were doing pretty well, with their rates.
Okay. I figured this is a good time to just to cover it and then we'll have it done. Once around? Okay.
Anything else?
Right, so then we'll just need a.
We need a motion to approve the audit report as
I'll
presented.
make that motion to approve the audit report as presented by Andrew and Michelle.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous?
Good.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Good to see you. Okay.
Right, guys, thank you, Michelle.
Boy.
Park and recreational pool budget to cover overtime expenses.
What's caused these expenses, John?
About a month ago.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Reviewing
This one?
the expense reports, I
some
saw
already
some
printed.
overtime going into the pool area that hadn't been budgeted.
You have an extra one?
No,
So I,
you need it more than me. I'll look at you. I'm
so
sorry.
I spoke with Mr. Lynch about it. And apparently the pool director over there worked some overtime during the year. Various swim meets when Amity or St. Joseph's or I think they have a third high school that uses the pool for swimming. She also does some other things on overtime, and he's charging it to the pool account over there, which it should be charged. So I asked him, I said, you gotta cover it in your budget somewhere with some money from other funds. Apparently, it had been taken out of his budget a few years ago. I don't remember it. It might have been that couple of year period where, between when I was on the board and I became finance director, and he didn't budget it in his original budget for this year, which I made him change. So he came up with transfers from two of these accounts to cover this overtime in the pool account. And because it is salary, I brought it to you, to your group for approval.
Excuse me.
So we have an overage of $5,000 in overtime.
It's not up to that yet, I don't think.
Okay, 4,000, 3,800, pick a number. We are looking at 5,000.
Right.
This gets back, I think, if I'm starting, the first thing that I heard you say was they're there for swim meets. And we used to talk a lot about Park and Rec and what they charge, or, excuse me, charge others for the usage of things like, a lot of things, pool being one of them.
Absolutely.
So this is a significant number, right? Mm-hmm. And I wish I knew what we were, and where the money comes in and goes to, right? For example, does somebody pay $1.50 and it goes to an account that's Park and Rec's, you know, one of those accounts that is over here in the back of this document here? Or is it $100 or $5,000? I mean, what is the going rate? What are we charging these people, these activities that consume resources for which, whether we budget them or not, it's surfacing now because we hadn't budgeted, but it seems a little, seems large, unexpectedly large.
Those are good questions, and I believe they're not in the special funds in the back. I believe they're in the Park and Rec funds and our general fund. We do have pool rental line item there, though we haven't budgeted anything in that line item yet either. And it looks like we've only taken in about $29. But and then we also have facility rentals where we have $3,000 budgeted. And
You see where I'm going, John?
Yeah, I do.
It's just, you know.
I do.
the-
I don't-
The revenue we get and the cost to provide, and, you know, I think we
I-
have better documentation from Dan when he comes in
I
next,
think
a week from,
that's-
you know,
that's-
wherever.
I think that's where you have to start. I have directed all the departments that charge fees and all to look at their fees, to raise their fees, hopefully by April 1st of this year. That goes for building department, plan and zoning, and wetlands. Certainly the fees at Park and Rec, because the minimum wage has gone up, and all the camp counselors work at minimum wage, so you're talking about a $1 an hour increase there. The pool, a lot of the people at the pool work at minimum wage, so you're looking at increases there. So he's supposed to be working on that. All those departments are supposed to be working on that. Some of them actually outside of their department, some of them need Board of Selectmen approval also
Okay.
to raise.
I would really like to see a list from Dan next Friday, when we have our all-day meeting, on that, because I remember we put it together.
He
out of
used to
that
put it
Excel.
together and bring it, yep,
Well, he
absolutely.
sent it to me and I put it together. He just sent me a couple sheets, I think. Oh, no, I sent him a sheet and I said, here, I think I went over there to make sure the people that were gonna be filling it in understood, rather than just say, here, fill this in, and they did.
Do you have that sheet that I could forward it to him?
Well, I mean, it's on this computer somewhere. We hope,
So,
but I mean,
so
you know, how long is
if
it
I
gonna
say
take me
to
to
him,
find it?
a few years ago, you did something for Mr. Leahy, and he'd like to see that again on
Well, I'd like to
Friday?
see a sheet.
He'll know
that-
what I'm-
He'll know what I'm saying, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
And, you know, if he
Yeah,
doesn't.
he had every program spelled out.
Oh, I had it all there. Yeah.
It sounds like something that he probably should be able to do on his rec track program. And I know.
They
Well,
should
this
be
was
doing,
just
they
an
should have the
Excel. I mean,
data
it should have
anyway.
basic
Well,
Excel.
well, we updated that rec track
But I
program.
create all the
last-
formulas, all I do is punch it in.
last
there.
fall.
You want to
So-
break even. You want to break even at a minimum. Obviously, don't lose money in these programs. You know, but let's understand what's going on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll-
what do we
I'll
have
ask
to do?
them
So
for
make a
that.
motion and say, hey, or do we just FYI, or what do we got here?
No, we have
No,
to
we
make
have
a
to make a
motion to
motion
approve
on
this
this.
transfer.
All right,
I'll make the motion to approve the transfer for 5,000 total out of two accounts as noted.
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you.
Good.
Item number 5, Mr. Nuzzo.
Amity.
Amity updates.
all right, Joey.
Let's start, Jim, with the revenue and expense numbers, the current surplus. So the current surplus as of December of 19, the forecast is 443,269. And most of that it comes from purchase services, as has been the case here and previously. And
I sent these out, right?
Yes.
yes, we all had those, yes, Jim.
Where'd you go? 443, 269, Joe?
443,269, we'll start there, at that page.
Yep.
And then the favorable will be purchase services for the 536 up
Yep.
above, the primary driver there,
Yep.
related to tuition. And that tuition is on page, let's see here, Jim.
Oh, you're in the, you're in the
Yeah,
Word
it's actually
document?
123 of 206.
Oh, you're in
Yeah, I'm in, I'm in the
the
Can you get to that
PDF
one?
document.
I'm in
Oh,
the
my
other
God.
document, if you can find that one.
No, I didn't put it in the folder.
All right, so anyway, so
apparently.
the main driver is the tuition expense, currently forecast to have a favorable figure of $602,000. And based on
That's
current
what it
students and
is.
their placements, and will change throughout the year, but that's what it's forecast to be currently.
So let's see, Joe, you're saying that this 536, which is purchase services, this is the summary sheet, so when we get down below where we have the details, both, it's the same thing here, it's mostly
Yeah, 602,
tuition
that's it,
expense,
that's
right?
it, right there.
Yeah, so tuition expense will be a function of how many students.
Yeah,
So
then-
probably in the Word document, it has to do with the number of students, which is probably this one right up above. It looks like you have here your actual, you had budgeted 33 and you had, the current forecast, quote unquote, means what we expect at the end of the year was 26, so that's probably, you know, a sizable part of it. And here's your 515 favorable here that you were just discussing.
Yep. So that's the current year budget at this point.
Okay.
Do we want to go over to the superintendent's budget? Or where would you like to start, Jim? Where do you want to go next?
Well,
What are your thoughts here? Because we can jump around a little bit.
we are still, John, they are going to be coming in on February 13th, the Thursday, is
13th,
that
yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how much do we want to talk about the Amity budget? I don't know how much people have been able to go through it. Probably, maybe you could
Few minutes,
announce
just,
some
I mean,
highlights
the
of what
highlights,
they're,
I have
yeah.
some highlights here.
Yeah,
But at this point, the budget is $51.5 million, or a 3.95% increase over the current budget,
3.95.
395.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't figure the budget number, but I'm sure you can figure that out, Jim, in a few moments for us.
No, that is the budget.
The
budget.
actual budget.
Well, what will be a challenge for me personally regarding this budget is the following. Here we have column C, right? And here's the budget for this current year, I believe, right? 19 and 20. For the past 3 or so years, we have had budgets go up from Amity about 1%, 1.25, something like that. With those budget increases, what did we get back this year? $1 million?
Yeah.
Friday,
Oh, the check?
1102?
102, 925.
Okay, 1.1 million.
money.
We pay about 50%, so they had a surplus. Now, that would be in 18.
19, the June 30th year that just, the
Just
audit
ended.
year we just did.
Okay, so I'll have to go back and figure out the budget.
2.2 million, right?
But you can see that they only spent 47, 371, 520, right? I mean, that's what they spent. And then, so their budget though was 49, 404, 547. So even though they only got 1% increase, say, I have to look it up, they, 1% plus 2 million, right? Now, they're saying we need 4%. It just doesn't pass almost any kind of test. Okay? But we have, we all need to go through this, right, and understand it. I looked at it. Special ed was a big number. Salary increases are a big number.
They have new security at the
They
middle
wish to
schools.
put in new security in all the schools, yep.
Well, that's bonded,
Is that a police
So they're
that they're
gonna have
talking
a
about?
policeman at each
Oh,
school, I
policeman.
think.
I don't know.
That's not in Bob
You're not talking about the
Gagne's budget.
construction part of it.
No, that would be in their budget.
Well, they have to pay it.
Yeah, but Bob Gagne's gonna have to bring in another police officer to do that.
If it's a police officer, if it's an
I-
outside
we-
security firm,
Where's
they're
the-
budgeting it, we don't know.
They were talking about a police officer
Yeah.
at one time, earlier in,
It seems like a big
earlier in
expense.
the.
Well, why don't we,
fall.
when we have them in?
Yeah, because it's
we could,
100,000
you know,
for each school.
Yeah. That's all.
That's
Wow.
less than the price we gave them.
So that's a salary and
The
benefits.
100,000 is just the salary, or that,
We gave-
I
the
think it's,
equipment and stuff?
they added it 200 to security, so I'm thinking,
Yeah,
We gave
yeah,
them,
you looked at it already,
they
yeah.
asked for an estimate on a police officer, and we said yearly salary and benefit for a police officer, you have to put in there is about 130 to 140,000.
and they probably took the summer out and adjusted it
Probably.
down.
I'd like to see us, each town be responsible, for one. Instead, because then we'd be responsible for 33% instead of
50%.
50%. Especially because it's not a full-time position, really. It's a 10-month position.
Yeah.
180-day position.
Well,
Yeah.
Other things I think you have to
Yeah.
think about, team, is the following. They're still advertising, and you have to fight through it a little bit, because when you look at the good news is our ratio of the total has gone down. So that helps. But from a budgeting perspective, it has to do with, what you're spending. You're proposing 3.95% increase. We used to have 2,600 students at Amity, a little over 26. I have to go back to the years when it was that way. I believe this year, the number 2177 is ringing in my head, all right? I don't know if that's what you got there, Joe, but I know it's going down. It's been continuing to go down. The number of FTEs seem to be continuing to go up a little bit. Some years none, some years one. But, as we've seen in the prior discussion we just had on pensions and stuff like that, costs have more than just Pat's salary is an eventual cost to the town, or to the organization, the town. So I'm worried about that. And as PJ, you've often said, yeah, it's education, but it's another department. We can't be just treating it because, So those are some preliminary considerations that I'd just like to share with all of you. because, 3.95 on top of whatever you had, which itself had $2 million surplus in it,
Big number.
it's a big number. And I don't know what Woodbridge is gonna do, because they have like over $1 million. You have the number,
6.81%.
6.8192, or, yeah, I
And
mean.
they're already at.
I'll be interested in what our friend
I
over there.
was gonna ask if you guys knew when are they presenting to the town of Woodbridge? Do we know that? For the 13th? I just can't see them saying, okay.
No, they won't.
Well, certainly, Jim, in the past couple of years, has organized the 3 selectmen to have discussions. I would think maybe this year might be the Woodbridge first selectman initiating that, I don't know. But those are, I don't know if we have the time to go through this
No, we
all,
don't need,
Joe.
no,
What do you think?
No.
No, we'll do it.
We'll do it.
You know,
We don't need to do it now.
I don't have any of the Excel sheets that they sent out or anything yet.
And the medical and dental is 99.4%.
Well, it's gone down, it was over 100 before,
Yeah.
but yes,
Yeah.
that's a good news.
But, on a short, and we'll talk on the 13th with
Yeah,
them.
Yeah.
But there's 2 things that are still in here every year with these surpluses, and that's an overall contingency of 150,000, which in the 20 years, other than when they had that shortage, so we'll say in 18 years since we've been here, they've never touched it. And then when you read into the other stuff in the repairs and maintenance, they have $100,000 another contingency for,
I do.
something there.
I just got it.
Okay.
And when you're running
Yeah, there's
these
another,
surpluses, it's just,
there's
you-
another thing in here,
you don't seem
Kev.
to need them.
Did you see it? They were talking about that 1% for,
Oh, yeah, they're gonna vote in September to keep 495,000 of this year's surplus. So they already have the fact that they're gonna have a surplus and they wanna put 495,000 in a fund next year. Which if it's for repairs and stuff, might not necessarily, that might be a good thing. That's up for debate, but you're already banking on, you're gonna,
You're gonna have a
come
surplus.
December when this is drafted, that you're gonna have at least $500,000 to stick somewhere. It just kinda seems disingenuous.
Joe, do you remember if that got voted on in September of last year?
No, we got it back. They spent some of it. I think they spent some of the surplus, because I
They
think it was
did,
more than
they did.
2.2 million.
They did.
It was higher than that. They spent
spent-
some on,
They spent about 400,000
so the real surplus was 2.6.
2.6, yep.
Yeah,
We got back to 1.1 just the other day,
2.6.
and yeah, they did spend some of it. And there was a list of things.
yeah.
I can't seem to remember what they were, but they were,
Yeah. We have it somewhere, but it's,
So more to come February 13th in front of this board.
okay.
Jen Byers.
February 13th, we're gonna meet with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when we go over the calendar, again, we can take
I
a
better
peek at that.
fill in my calendar, make sure I have that.
Yeah.
So Kevin, whatever I just said covers Vice Chairman report.
All right, so we're done with item number 6 too then. Thank you, guys. Number 7, approval of the 2020-2021 budget workshop schedule.
I think we have that on the screen.
Actually, this is our budget.
Okay, did a couple of things different from last year.
We have the meeting.
In past years, we've met with the fire marshal's office. I
Yep.
took that
Correct.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Sharon Ewan asked to come in and speak to you about the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
I don't think it's her. I think somebody else is coming in, and I'm not sure she's gonna make it for this time. So if she doesn't make it for this time, I pretty much told her we'd have to schedule it for another time.
In the yellow there, Kevin has the dates that
That's okay
Woodbridge
with
is on the
the
21st.
board.
Oh, okay.
That means it's.
They already met.
I haven't heard yet from Matt. How that went.
Why don't you initiate a,
So we might have a member from the conservation, we might not.
Right. I think we could certainly use that time. What I'll do is I'll have Bob Britton on standby. If nobody comes in from that time, I'll move him up, and we'll let him talk, and then we'll do our break, and then
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, if that's okay, so let's just do the break.
earlier.
Yeah, and then we
okay.
go right to Bob
Yeah.
and,
Can I make a plea?
sir.
Can we start at like 8:10 so I can get here and not miss the first part for the first time in 6 years?
Chief Gagny's gonna be here at 8 o'clock. I'm not.
That's biggest, you know, gag you.
Tell him I'm driving as fast as I can to get here.
Maybe we can get you an escort.
Yeah,
We'll get you an escort.
Okay, I tell you what I'll do.
delay a few minutes.
I have last year's budget book. I will start asking a few questions about,
You don't wanna tip them off.
I know.
I'm gonna tell them.
I'm sure
gonna ask
I'm
them
sure
about
he's
cars.
watching right now.
Right, yeah. He's taking notes.
Live feed into Bethany.
This is something I wouldn't ask him anyway, if he was just, you know, having a root beer
Alright, so
somewhere.
we'll wait for 8:10, but we'll be here.
We'll be here.
So what time will
want
the
me to-
donuts and
do you
coffee
want
be
me to
here? By the
schedule
way,
it
are
at-
we gonna get
do you
Dunkin'
want me to
Donuts coffee,
schedule it at 8:10?
this year?
He comes in, he's got papers, we could start, and,
donuts, though.
you know, casual,
Oh, I don't need donuts.
because there's always other,
I don't need donuts.
he's always got good
I
information.
want Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Bagels,
Right.
bagels.
Is there a motion to approve
No,
the schedule?
John, are we gonna have Dunkin' Donuts coffee? Cause I'll go to
Didn't you
Dunk's and
have-
get my own,
Didn't
I
you
don't
have it
mind.
last year?
No.
It was
Yeah, we had coffee last year.
not, I'll just go to Dunk's.
No
All right,
donuts.
PJ made a motion to approve the schedule. Is there a second? Second by
I'll let
Kevin.
you
Any
know,
further
Jim.
discussion?
Oh, I got one comment, either on this or under Amity, Vice Chairman report. We will wish to have an estimate of what we think Amity, in other words, I would like us to be able to agree on that date, which is what we've done in the last 4 years, I believe, what we would expect the Amity budget increase to be for which we could support. So think about it between now and then.
You mean our number?
Hour now.
Yeah, and like, for example, last year, I believe we came in with, like, 1, and they came in at 1.25 or something like that. So we kept, we didn't make a big deal of it, like marketing campaign or anything, but, you know, we said, hey, this seems reasonable to us.
Okay,
All right, so
so
we gotta have a motion on the table.
what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna adjust that budget discussion, including the Amity.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the table.
And it
Any
is
further
supposed to
discussion?
snow on the 7th, just.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, you know.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Is it gonna snow?
No, we don't know yet.
It's the extended forecast.
Oh, you checked it out?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Spot on.
Okay. Item number 8, discussion and approval of minutes from November 18th, 2019.
Okay, John, you usually batting lead off.
All right, just give me a second here. Page number 2, Deb. Up at the top, where it says the employees' benefit variance is 47,704. I think we need to say after that, unfavorable. I think that's what we were speaking of at that time.
Good catch.
Then on page 3, under 8, review revenue and expense reports, the very last paragraph where I talk about transfer station at 15 to 20%, that should be at 15 to 20 cents per pound.
I was wondering what that meant.
And the Board of Selectmen's taken that up for a vote in February. That's all I had.
Is that what other towns is charging, 15 to 20 cents per pound?
Well, some of them are, and some of them aren't charging anything.
Yeah.
It's a way that the first selectman thought we could maybe cut off some of
Yeah,
the
yeah. Make people think about it. yeah.
demolition going down there, and he thought that if we raised some money on it beyond what our cost is for that area, that we'd do a bulky waste pickup in the
Yeah, I saw
town
that,
down the
yeah.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Which is a
you know,
pretty
we're
good
getting
idea.
killed on the recycling end of things, because we're paying
Yeah.
for it now instead of, you know,
Yeah,
and that's
Absolutely.
short-term, that's not gonna change at all.
no.
Okay, other edits to the November 18th? I have one thought, but I don't think we have to include it, but on page 2, when we were talking about the bond referendum, which both passed, right? And there's one bullet in there, we're talking about the field and the lighting. I thought I had made a comment, and I don't care if we put it in or not, but particularly since I'm now 3 days a week running with a group through the Amity parking lot, I thought I specifically said, I don't think they need 600 grand to redo these parking lots. But if I didn't say it, or you don't think it's worthy to have it in the notes, fine. I'm not hard over on it. But I do wonder at Joe when I go over there. We run right over, right up the hill, right past the football field and.
I don't recall if that was said or not.
And that's all I have, Kevin, on these notes for myself. Okay?
No.
You good?
I'm good.
So we can leave that.
PJ?
All right, is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
I'll
Motion by
second it.
Pat, second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item number 9.
John?
Request to fund new carpet in the Board of Education Central Office for $20,000.
Okay. The current budget in the capital, we approved $30,000 for them to do ceiling tiles, both in the Board of Education office, and I believe it was Turkey Hill School. When they actually went out to bid, that $30,000 became $9,000. So they had quite a bit of savings when they went out to bid to it. I was recently up in one of their other projects was this carpet, and because the ceiling tiles they thought was gonna cost so much, they weren't able to put that carpet in last year. I was recently up in the Board of Education offices. Carpet there is bad. I mean, it's a safety hazard waiting to happen. It's fraying and it's just horrible. Somebody's gonna get hurt and it's gonna cost us more money because it's gonna be a workman's comp case, because it's gonna be one of the people that work in the central office there. So my thought was to bring it in front of this board and see if you could approve the $20,000 that's been saved from the ceiling tile to
Could we
do
get
this work in the
The
Board of
same
Ed
person
oil.
who made the $30,000 estimate for the tiles that only cost $9, get them on the hunt, you know where I'm going. Get them on the hunt on how we're going to get this $20,000 budgeted for $20,000 for a rug?
Well, it's for the whole area up there. It's not just one room, it's their whole central office.
And
And
it's,
that person that did that other thing is out on leave.
Well, I guess
Did he-
it's all
did he
good news.
Did he fall on the carpet because of the
No.
carpet?
No.
I don't know, it feels like a lot of money, $20,000 worth.
They did ask for
Well,
it.
I don't
They
know.
did-
I don't-
I just
Anybody know
know
carpet? Kevin?
30 odd years ago, I worked for International Floor.
Oh, well, let's
But-
hear it.
And we would do banks and stuff on, so we did Sikorsky on the weekends when somebody says you can't interrupt this office, and
Yep.
we worked Friday
Yeah.
night
Yep.
until Sunday night. But
I mean,
I
they're
know
gonna
the
have
Board of
to-
Ed with the different offices, and who's ever doing this job, they do have to rip everything
you
out,
have to rip it out.
remove all the furniture room by room, and it's a big job. I don't know what pricing is, but it is a bigger job than, it's not a room like this where you can just roll it on in. There's a lot.
I know we
Lot
used to do
there.
carpet tiles because that was easier to put down and also to repair. You didn't, if there was
You
damage.
could take up the individual
Yeah,
squares.
you could just take up the
Actually,
square.
what Dr. Scarpetti was hoping, and they took the carpet up in a couple of spots to look at it underneath. When I was a student there, it was hardwood floors.
Yeah, we used to
And
play.
he was hoping there was gonna be hardwood floors. If you go up where they have their boardroom, where they have their meetings,
nice
it's
room,
the
yeah.
hardwood floors. That was carpeted there, and when they pulled up the carpet,
It was a
they were
beautiful
surprised to
floors.
find the hardwood floors,
Yeah.
and they refinished that. Unfortunately, it looks like in the central office there, the floors were ripped out. His current office there was my fifth grade classroom.
Yeah, then it was
Wow.
community services was over there, the youth center was in Mariel.
I would imagine, at 20,000, they would have to go out to bid on this.
Oh, they're gonna
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, so
Because
I
it's-
mean.
Because it's coming direct from the town, they have to follow the town.
Well, they would have had to have
They-
done
they
that for
need-
the 30 as well.
Well, they would
That's
have
when
to
we
done
set
that for the
this up
ceiling
this way.
tiles, so I
Yeah.
think when they actually did it, that's where the,
That's where they found
that's
it.
where the $20,000
The
savings came
for
from.
$20,000, they have to get 3 quotes.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right. So what do you need from us, John?
I need a motion for you to.
All right, I'm in.
approve $20,000.
I make
from the
that motion.
capital
I'll
account
second it, yeah,
To allow them to do the rug in the central office.
yeah.
Okay, but that's not gonna be additive because we've already saved it
We've
from the
already-
30.
we-
We've
Add-
already,
add
the
the
money's
same.
It's
already
already
there.
in that capital account, that money falls
Peace.
back
Okay.
to
We
the.
Deb, you got it?
allocated-
Everything good?
Yeah.
We allocated actually 33,000
Oh,
at one point.
but I only want 20.
Right, so we have, we have it in that
For an
line.
estimate.
That's in a separate fund. All right, so there's a motion by Jim, seconded by Pat.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, unanimous.
And they did,
Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
they did put it on their capital request for this year, only it was
Save money
like,
on that.
18 out of 22 items.
Prior,
that were-
oh, when Ralph comes in? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not on this, there's no number in the capital in here other than our
Now, I
prior
can
years.
tell you what it is.
Hey, tell
They
you
have
what, can
22
you get me
items
that
at
list
a
from
million.
Ralph?
He doesn't have them. I asked him for it, I wanted to put it in the book.
No. Send them to me. I don't mind creating that Excel file right in the middle of hearing all the information, typing in the information. But wouldn't it be great if I could get
we
it in
could see it,
advance?
yeah.
You know,
If I could get it to you, I'd be glad to get it to you.
request made. We'll see what happens.
Everything's denied unless it's in advance.
All right.
Okay, item number,
I like that.
item 10, to review revenue and expense reports from December 31st.
All right, this is not that. That goes away.
We'll be meeting next week to go over everything year-to-date in detail
Yeah.
with our meeting. Is there
Yeah.
anything anyone has questions on, or John, do you have any?
The only thing, I
Highlights.
told you, we did get the Amity money, so
Yeah.
that was good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not in here, so we have the
You-
1102925.
Do you want, one other
Revenue.
question, are you gonna take these expense reports for next week, or do you want us to run one that's a little more up to date?
If you have something up to date, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be helpful,
The
yeah.
closer to
So,
our
you know
time
what,
period.
we
Another
won't
month.
send it out to you, we'll put it on the table then on Friday for you.
That's fine.
Just
And we'll
send,
take, I'll bring this.
yeah, that will work. We don't need
Yeah.
it. Well, send it to me electronically anyway. If you're gonna.
Well, I'll
yeah.
tell you what, Corinne runs a Monday.
Okay.
I'll take the one that she runs Monday and I'll send it to you.
Works.
And that'll be the one that everybody gets on Friday,
Okay.
how's that?
Okay.
That's great.
Okay,
Because
so
I know on
we
the revenue
are,
side, the misses we had on interest, we made up for
Yeah.
with cell tower in the
yeah.
Yale pilot, so we're
We're
okay,
doing-
it's just, we gotta look at this year.
Yeah,
one of the things we talked about earlier, John, was the motor vehicle, right?
Yeah.
That we were down last year by about 150,000 than what we budgeted. We can clearly see that we may be in the same situation this year on page 1, because using 95.3% of the total where we are now compared to where we were last year, and as a percentage, it's about the same, 95.1.
yeah.
So you can see we're probably heading to a little bit of a shortfall. But what's interesting, and I don't know if there's, like, how people are paying or whatever, when you look at the big number, the real property, the 57 million there, you can see that we have already collected, at the same point in time, end of year, 62.3% as opposed to 58.3 last year.
yeah.
So that, not that we don't get it all anyway, or most of it anyway, right? But that, I think, kind of harkens to a good news story.
Why did you say the motor vehicle was down?
We had a lot of residents come in after the bills went out last year that had sold their
Appeals.
cars, that hadn't turned in their plates. So they had to, they have to pay their taxes,
Right, right.
which are part of our grand list, and then they have to apply for a refund on it. We did, I think it was like $150,000 or $180,000 in refunds last year.
Wow.
It was
That's a
unusual.
lot.
That's why I called your attention to it. It was the first time in my years in this job that we had that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I would
anything
think, though,
ever
that
that big.
that would drive revenue higher than next year because people are trading in older cars for newer cars,
No,
which,
because their newer cars are on it also. You go,
You-
you
you
go
got
to the
two
dealer,
cars,
you buy
yeah.
a new car, you get new plates on it. You trade in your old car, you take the plates home. If you don't turn it into motor vehicle, it's still on our tax rolls until that registration runs out.
And if you do it after October 1st, they both carry over the following year. You know, until the plates come off the,
Oh,
come
wow.
off the books.
The one
well
good thing,
described.
the one good thing I could say, the supplemental motor vehicles, I think we actually sent out $600,000 in bills. So we still got a little bit to collect there,
Oh, it's at 501 there, John?
501, yeah.
Hey, John, skip my mind.
We'll know better in March what our collections were for January now. That'll be the big thing.
Oh, I know what I
That
was gonna
spills over into the
So I have
first
a
couple
next
of
door
days of
neighbor, right?
February.
Who shall remain nameless. I love her to death. And she hands me, she plucked it out of a newspaper, made a copy. There was a like Town of Orange statement about taxes,
Legal notice.
legal notice, thank you.
They have to publish that 3 times every time.
Is this new this year?
No,
Oh,
it's there every year. If she looked a little more in the paper, she'd see the same thing from every town in the area. They, by law, by state statute, Sandy has to publish that legal notice 3 times.
we do it in
like
our local
40
papers, I
times.
assume?
No, she has to do it in the register.
Register as well?
Yeah,
Well,
It costs a lot to do that, too.
yeah, if
Yeah.
we could do it in the local
Yeah,
papers,
yeah.
we'd
Save
save a
money.
lot of
Like
money.
our budget, if we had to
Yeah.
put that in
Oh,
the
oh,
register,
yeah.
it cost us
That-
another
I mean, I
$5,000
actually,
or something.
for our budget, we pay under $1,000 and I get what, 1.5 pages? And he actually holds his publishing
Correct.
deadline for me.
Yep.
To get it in.
Hey, John, quick one. I don't want to, like Kevin says, we're going to be looking all over this stuff next week. This conveyance thing surprised me.
What page are you on?
Page
First
one.
page, during the bottom of the first
Yeah,
page.
I saw that too.
Okay.
You see the 347? We've already collected 347. And we are and last year we had only collected 141 at this point, and I see you have 2 major, whatever, RE.
Real estate.
Real estate
estate
sales.
Sales.
Why are we projecting nothing more between now and the end of the year?
Because we don't know what it's gonna sell. You get that money from major, storefronts on the post road selling.
Okay.
And property. You had the Stu Leonard property sell this year. You had the Cosacreo property sell this year.
Right.
You had a couple of other properties that went from one LLC to another LLC.
There was a couple on Route 1,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are crapshoots.
So they could estimate there's another 50, but it's all
Yeah.
going the right direction.
Yeah.
How about our ECS? We gonna get that money?
We still haven't gotten any more, but I haven't heard that we're not, so the only thing I know that's held up is Town Aid Road.
Okay. All right. I can save the rest myself, Kevin, for the next week. Let's see, we had one other one that you had, and that would be the expenditures. So let me
Expenditures.
get that one ready.
Expenditures, 2 of the union contracts are now complete. They were finally signed last week with clerical union and supervisors union. We're gonna be doing the retros this week. They'll be in their next paycheck. And I'll subsequently do the transfers to fix those lines.
Okay.
I did do the transfers for the non-union salaries, and that'll show up in your next expenditure report.
Okay.
So we're at 55.45, so 55.5%, right? At a point in time that's halfway through the year, right?
Yeah.
It does, however, include one additional AMD payment, because they're at 60% for some reason. All right, so God bless America on that.
Probably includes most of the bond payments.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot at 100%, yeah.
So,
The-
I don't know, there's a lot
Why
we
I'm,
could
why
talk
I'm,
about
why
or
I'm
not, but we're
thinking
gonna do
of
it
it,
next week anyway.
when you do look at your budget booklets, on a lot of the salaries, you're gonna see big increases like 4.15 and 4.30. That's because there's 2 years in
years, yeah.
there. Just keep that in mind. And there's 6 people that work in the town hall that got additional on top of that for increased job duties when we eliminated the second position in the first selectman's office manager position.
Okay.
But then with those increases, we don't have the other,
Right.
The-
You'll see a big.
Employee
you'll see-
benefit
Employee
number,
benefit
yeah.
number
Yeah.
should go down, yeah, by a significant number. Yep. Because that's where we were, our kitty for that number. I don't have anything else here, Kevin. Anybody yet? Joe?
Anyone else?
I want to go on record again saying that this budget is amazing, that your department has hold to their budget or lower than that, and having done this for a million years professionally, you do a really good job, and they do a really good job, and I think we as a board need to let them know we appreciate that they do this. So I hope it shows up in the minutes, because I really, every month when I look at this, I'm really amazed at how good, because we're tough with them, and they are even tougher on themselves.
You should have been here when we had 33 pages rather than 21 of these.
That should be worth it.
I agree with you, for sure. Yeah.
That should be worth a Dunkin' Donuts
A
coffee.
Dunkin' Donut coffee, yeah,
Dunkin'
right.
Donut coffee, there you go.
Audrey, are you listening?
Yeah. Yeah, we could make that statement at our town budget hearing in April,
Yeah.
right?
absolutely.
You can make it to them as they parade in
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to take,
We're gonna beat you up, but we like you.
so Kev, how about this? I don't know where it fits in the agenda, but let me give you an idea.
Wanna do the
I think it's
dates?
November, yeah. We have a calendar here.
Yeah, let's do the dates.
Did you say next week?
Just a week from
Next
Friday.
Friday.
A week from
Seventh.
Friday.
Well, yeah.
Excuse me, Keen. All right, where's the calendar?
What are we looking at?
I'm trying to find the calendar, here it is.
Budget meeting dates.
Yeah, just kind of remind ourselves. Whoa. There we go. There it is. I think that's what we got coming. We're here on the 27th, right?
Yep.
We have next, town budget is the 7th. We have Amity coming in on the 13th.
I think you're missing our regular meeting in
I
February.
need, we need one on the 24th. I need a yellow on the 24th, John? Then I believe we said the OBOE were coming in on March 5th.
Right, I did speak to Dr. Scarpetti this morning and did confirm that date with him again.
And then I think we said, and these were, as Kevin, you said, as the further out we go, but at least put a thing in the sand, right? The 16th could be what I think the term, I think I'm hearing PJ's voice, budget cuts. And then we had, I call it budget finish, and I put, whatever that one is, 25, 26, and 30. Not that we would have 3 dates, but how to have them there, so if we need them, And then we talked about, we do have the April 20th being the third Monday, but maybe we wouldn't need it. And then I was pushing to make sure we had it on, try to have it on the Wednesday or Thursday, because Kevin finishes his monster season on the 15th. I'll just say politely, he's out of pocket for a day or two. And then,
Unless you wait, we've worked on the 16th, putting the budget together, and I've fallen asleep.
well, it was either that or the hockey playoffs, I forget which.
We will, in my office, we'll have some chaos around March 31st, because that's the first switch over to Munis for everything but payroll.
Yeah, so all the more reason for us to get it done, yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
And what tonight's
And we'll keep
meeting,
updating this as we need, right?
what this meeting showed me is, and I was kind of optimistic going into this budget season, picked up 400 in pension liability, okay? And not that we didn't know this, but even though our share of Amity went down, which would have been in the current year a $400,000 savings, we still have a $631,000 increase at what they're asking for now.
Right.
So that we'll wait for next week, but, or, you know, but that's.
Yeah, and
that's-
I haven't gotten, Mark's grand list yet, which I always say until
Oh,
I
yeah,
get
we won't have
that
that
and
for a
see.
while, and there's a lot.
I've spoken to him, he thinks we're about $1 million, well, he told me $30 million increase in the grand list, he estimates, which my way of thinking is about $1 million increase in taxes.
What
Then I
percent
think-
increases do?
But it should
Then I
be,
think we pick up some from UI.
we pick up another
Yeah,
Another
big
percentage.
bump,
Yeah.
20%, but it's more than 20 because it's growing up, so.
Yep.
But until I get his paperwork.
Yeah,
and
we don't know.
I'll do the calculations and I'll forward it all to you right away as soon as I get that.
The number I want to hear about the generous, John, would be the percentage increase. Because it, you know, if you're gonna have your revenue go up by a certain percent, and you're gonna have your costs go up by a certain, you know, you can get grenade close by just, you know, comparing the two, right? What's gonna have to be filled in with taxes, right?
But 4%, that's kind of a kick to me. But we'll leave it at that. Is there a motion to it? Oh, John? did you-
I mean, looking at the budget that I've been looking at, it's gonna be tough if the two schools stay where they are. Because then you, like you said, the pension money, you can't touch that. So that
Nope.
leaves you about $500,000 from the town side to have to cut, and there's not a lot, you know, I'll bet you probably 30% of that is the salary increases for all the departments. So it's gonna be a working process.
Just a quick look at the Amity budget, the biggest, the salary and benefits were the big increases in that. The other, some of the other ones were actually down, you know, comparing the two budgets.
I did in your books make estimates for benefits and insurance, including Anthem, because I don't have any of those numbers yet, and I probably won't have them till the end of February. But I think I was pretty conservative on that, so we may have some savings there from the numbers I put in for you. And those items are highlighted in yellow.
Typical process we use when we're here on the 7th, right? You're gonna send me all of the detailed Excel sheets.
I will.
Okay. Now we need to get that, you have like a macro sheet, which is great, we've used it every year. Then you have a mill rate sheet, we use it every year. Then you have a revenue sheet, we use it every year. Haven't been able to convince you to put them all on one Excel file yet, but we're working on
The
it.
mill rate one we won't have for a while, because we don't have the grand list
Right,
data.
you won't have the mill rate for a
But we
while.
can have the structure,
You won't have,
you know.
you won't have the revenue. Art hasn't started working on that yet, but he will.
Okay.
And like I said, the last 2 weeks, we've actually been in for 9 days, and 8 of the 9 days, we've been in Munis trading all day, so it's been tough.
Good luck with that.
Data's coming up quick, though. So, a lot of nervous people.
This is an extra copy. I don't need it. I had one, you had one made for me, or I came over and picked
Okay,
one
you
up.
could give it to
Deb?
Deb, then. I don't think I gave her one because I didn't have
There
a
you go,
copy.
Dave. Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I have another one too, because I printed it off their website. So, motion to adjourn by Jim, is there a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Good.
Meeting adjourned at 8:55.